Hello everyone, this is Eumarc, and we will now continue the chapter 21. Next, we have the American aid. So, could a country so devastated rehabilitate itself and be ready for independence? Well, the American Army in the Philippines created an agency to extend immediate aid to the Filipinos. The Philippine Civil Affairs Unit, or the PCAU, was set up to help the military commanders in extending relief aid to the suffering people. Municipal officials and teachers were paid their salaries by the PCAO. The American government gave money to the Philippine government for the purchase of foodstuff, medicine, and clothing for the Filipinos. However, this money was to be paid back by the Philippine government in due time. Distributing centers in Manila and the provinces were established. Rice, corn, sardines, salmon, and other American goods were distributed to the people. PCAO also employed Filipino laborers in American military projects and thus provided money for circulation. Little by little, many people began to be preoccupied by selling American goods, cigarettes, and even military clothing. So next, we have the Government Reorganized. So in order to make the government responsive to the immediate needs of the people, President Osmeña in March 1945 reorganized the government. So the executive departments, as they existed immediately before the war, were restored and a new department, which is the Department of Information, was created. After his oath-taking, Osmeña spoke of what lay ahead. He said in part, "We shall reestablish in our country a social and political system in which government officials and employees are not the masters of the people, but their servants. We stand for the individual liberties guaranteed by our Constitution, for the right of every man and woman to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We stand for a new world free from want and fear, provided with greater safeguards or the protective measure for lasting peace. We are ready to take part in close association with the United States in the organization and preservation of peace in the world." On the insistent suggestion of General MacArthur, Osmeña called the Congress to session to pass laws designed to help solve the serious problems of the country. So next, we have the American financial aid. So the recently concluded war was an American war, but the Filipinos suffered much more than the Americans. As such, the American government decided to extend financial aid to the Philippines. After conducting a survey to the damage done by the Japanese and by the Americans themselves, the Congress of the United States appropriated $100 million to be used by the Philippine government for its operating expenses and for the redemption of the guerrilla notes issued during the war. Moreover, American Army surplus materials with a scale value of 100 million pesos were given to the Philippine government. The Philippines was given a loan of $60 million for purposes of reconstruction. So next, we have the Parity rights of American. Moreover, on October 1945, the American Congress passed a bill into law known as the Bilateral Relations Act, which provided that the free trade relations between the Philippines and the United States should continue beyond the Commonwealth period or up to 1954. And after that year, Philippine products entering the United States would be given 5% each year until the 100% was reached in 1974. The law, however, had a questionable provision that required the Filipinos to amend the Constitution in order to grant the Americans parity rights in the Philippines. This meant that the Americans, like the Filipinos, would be given the right to dispose, exploit, develop, and utilize all agricultural, timber, and mineral lands in the Philippines. But this violated the Constitution of 1935, which provided that after independence, only corporation of which 60% was owned by the Filipinos were allowed to exploit, develop, dispose, and utilize the natural resources of the country. But many patriotic Filipinos objected to this unjust provision of the Bilateral Relations Law, but the majority of the people were hungry and sick and therefore helpless. In order to get the financial aid of the United States, an amendment of the Constitution was allowed to be passed. An amendment of the Constitution was passed to allow for parity. So next, we have the Third Republic proclaimed. So when Congress was convened by Osmeña, it proceeded to elect Manuel E. Rojas to the presidency of the Senate. Rojas wanted to become president of the Philippines, and Osmeña, who was not in good health, wanted to retire. He was, however, persuaded by men around him to run for the presidency, and in the election of April 23, 1946, Rojas was elected President of the Commonwealth and at the same time the first ever President of the Third Republic, and on July 4, 1946, a date chosen by the American government, that is the proclamation of the Philippine independence by the U.S. President Harry S. Truman was read by Paul V. Mocnut, the last American High Commissioner of the Philippines, and in the proclamation, President Truman said that the United States was withdrawing and surrendering all rights of possession, supervision, jurisdiction, control, or sovereignty now existing and exercised by the United States of America in and over the territory and people of the Philippines. At the same time, Truman also said that the United States, through him, was recognizing the independence of the Philippines as a separate and self-governing nation. So next, we have here the photo. And this photo are the proclamation of Philippine independence on July 4, 1946 at the Luneta Park. So, Rojas took his oath of office as first president of the Third Republic of the Philippines, but Rojas stayed in the office for only 2 years. He died on April 15, 1948 after delivering a speech at Clark Air Base, Pampanga, in which he promised Filipino cooperation with the United States in case of another war. He was referring to the looming Korean War. Conscious of the problem of national security, he was also granted the U.S. control of the military and naval bases of the Clark Air Base and Subic Bay Naval Base in exchange for military aid. The country at this time was also faced with a communist unrest in the rural areas. So in conclusion, to sum it up, these topics likely delve into the impact of American involvement in the Philippines, the economic and political implications of financial aid and parity rights in the historical context surrounding the proclamation of the Third Republic of the Philippines underscores the intricate connections between external support, internal governance, economic development, and political decision-making. This historical analysis sheds light in the complexities of international relations, economic dependencies, and the evolution of governance structures in the Philippines under the influence of American aid and policies. We only have one country, the Philippines. Let's offer every talent and ability we have to contribute to the greatness of our nation. Let us serve the best interests of the Filipino people. As citizens of a free country, let us always remember how our forebears fought hard for the independence we enjoy today. Let us embrace and respect our flag, salute and venerate it, in depth appreciation of how our brave leaders and heroes fought to continue to fight for our national patrimony and independence. At ngayong araw ng kagitingan, ating gunitain ang katapangan at kagitingan ng mga bayaning Pilipinong nakikipaglaban at tagbuwis ng buhay para sa kasalinlan ng ating bayan. Nakikiisa po kaming pang-apat na pangkat sa pagbibigay pugay sa ating mga magigiting na bayani noon at makabagong bayani ngayon. Sa araw na ito, ating alalahanin at ipagdiwang ang kabayanihan at sakripisyo ng mga bayaning nagbuwis ng buhay para sa kalayaan at ating bayan. Naway maging inspirasyon ang kanilang katapangan sa pagpapatuloy ng ating mga adhikain. Maligayang araw ng kagitingan.